Senator, thanks for being there. Your sense of this evening?
Well, look, I think it was a good night. There were some fireworks tonight, but I think the people of South Carolina saw some real contrast. This decision matters. This is a serious decision, and I think people are getting tired of the circus. They're getting tired of the reality show. And, you know, with Justice Scalia's passing today, it really underscores what the stakes are in this election. And I think the men and women of South Carolina are focusing on the records of the candidates and are asking, who do you trust? Who do you trust to always defend the Constitution, to defend the Bill of Rights, to make sure our fundamental liberties are protected, and also to keep America safe? And I think tonight helped them in making that decision-making.
On that issue, let's go back to the passing of Justice Scalia. You clerked at the Supreme Court. Obviously, it's a sad day, and we've expressed condolences, as did all the candidates, to his family. The sense of the loss, not only for the nation, for conservatives, but on the court.
Well, he was an extraordinary man. He was a wonderful man. He was witty. He was fun. He was full of life. He was brilliant. He was an incomparable writer. And his legacy on the court, there are only a handful of justices in the history of this country who had a legacy on the court the way he has. And as Ronald Reagan was to the presidency, Antonin Scalia was to the Supreme Court. And so it is an enormous loss. I am very glad that, this afternoon I called for the Senate not to confirm anyone this year, to make this election a referendum on the Supreme Court. I'm very glad to see Republican leadership heeding those calls, and for the rest of the year I'm going to continue to press. I think the people need to press leadership to honor that promise. But it really underscores the stakes of this election, that if Justice Scalia is replaced by a left-wing judicial activism, our most basic rights are in jeopardy: life, marriage, religious liberty. The Second Amendment, as I pointed out in the debate, if Donald Trump is our nominee, or if Donald Trump becomes president, the odds are unacceptably high that the Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms will be lost forever, because one more liberal will work to take away the right to keep and bear arms of every single individual American. We can't let that happen. We've got to fight to defend our liberties.
But the Constitution does say the President shall nominate to fill a vacancy on the U.S. Supreme Court, and the Senate shall confirm or shoot down that nominee. Do you think it's okay to have a vacancy for a year?
Oh, sure, and we've seen this. It's been 80 years since a vacancy occurred and was confirmed in an election year. And this is what the election is all about. Let's let the people decide. Brett, I can't wait to be campaigning against Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders and take the case to the American people. Which vision of the court do you want? Do you want the Hillary Clinton, Bernie Sanders vision, where our religious liberty is stripped away, where abortion on demand, including partial birth abortion, is mandated for everyone, where our basic rights are stripped away, where school choice is struck down across the country, where veterans' memorials are torn down? We want to get back to the constitutional liberties that built this country. That is why we have an election. And I trust the American people to make that decision.
Senator Cruz, Donald Trump's right behind you. Every time you're asked about Donald Trump, you always start with, he's a friend of mine, I like him. Today on that stage, he called you a liar. How many friends of yours call you liars?
Well, it is a strange dynamic, Brett, and both Donald Trump and Marco Rubio have a very similar pattern. When you point to their record, they get very upset and scream, liar, liar, liar. It's a very odd dynamic, and it's words out of their own mouth. Donald, on the stage tonight, advocated for taxpayer funding for Planned Parenthood. He said he thinks they do a terrific thing, and yet he screams, I'm a liar, for saying his own words. Donald Trump, in one of the previous debates, advocated for socialized medicine like Bernie Sanders. When I point that out, he responds, liar, liar, liar. Likewise, when anyone points to Marco Rubio's record on immigration and supporting amnesty, he just responds yelling, liar.
So will your preamble change now
very strange
that he's
dynamic.
a friend and you like him?
Oh, look, I continue to like both Donald and Marco. But I do think the people of South Carolina need to ask, who do you trust? Who do you know will honor their commitments, will defend the Constitution, will stop amnesty? And I also think, Brett, a very important question tonight is who's prepared to be commander-in-chief. This is a dangerous world, and I don't think we can have a commander-in-chief who goes into the Situation Room and doesn't have a meaningful understanding of the enemies facing this country, doesn't know how to keep this country safe, doesn't know, as Donald doesn't, even what the nuclear triad is. At an earlier debate, he had no idea what the nuclear triad is. This is too dangerous of a world for a commander-in-chief that doesn't have the basic standings necessary to keep this country safe.
Senator Cruz, thanks for your time tonight. We like having you on Fox News.
Thank you, Brett. It's always a pleasure.